And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Brucey Poo, how are you, my man?
I am good. I watched Caleb Williams and Jalen Daniels get after it last night.
Yeah.
And Jake Moody kick a very unlikely field goal in the pouring rain to win a game for your Chicago Bears.
They're not my Chicago
I know
Bears.
they're not. I know they're not your Chicago Bears, but it was a good win for the Bears, who won. What was the final score?
24-22.
And so they've won.
No, excuse me, 25-24.
25-24, and they've won consecutive games by the same score, 25-24.
Right.
Just absolutely weird. But I was sitting there thinking last night, watching this game, because I watched the Bills and the Falcons earlier, so I was seeing Penix, obviously.
Right.
But I was thinking about that draft class.
Yeah.
With Caleb Williams and Jalen Daniels and J.J. McCarthy and Penix, Drake May,
Bo Nix.
And I'm trying to think. I was trying to shuffle the order in my brain.
Yeah.
About that has turned out to be a pretty damned good quarterback class. Now, I'm not going historic or anything like that.
Yeah.
But as of right now.
Yeah.
That's a really solid quarterback class, right?
How would you rank the top three right now?
I will give. I mean, I happened to look it up last night. Jalen Daniels and Bo Nix. Now, Jalen Daniels has 7 touchdown passes to just 1 interception.
Right.
I think Nix is 9 and 4 right now, but their numbers are virtually the same percentage, yards rushing, the whole 9 yards. I mean, Daniels pulled ahead a little, not a little bit, but a fair amount last year because of his work that he did in the postseason. You got to an NFC championship game. I mean, that's got to count for something. So I think Jalen Daniels would probably be the leader right now on the course. Yeah.
Well, especially when you look at his whole body of work.
Yeah. But he missed a couple of games early this season. He's a great running guy, no question. You and I've talked about that. That's not always a great thing. It's a very effective thing when you're young.
Yeah.
How will it be when you're?
Well, really, Bruce. While I understand what you mean about age, you can get injured at any
age. Of
course. And at the end of the day, the more that you run, the more you put yourself in harm's way, and the more games you might miss.
That's my deal. It's the cumulative effect that you take from hits in the running game. Yeah. I mean, it just is. So Drake May has made great strides. There's no question. I thought Michael Penix looked pretty good last night. I think that Bo Nix certainly has had a good start to his career. I think J.J. McCarthy lags behind this group, but more because he's been unavailable than anything else.
Right.
So, I mean, I think you probably and Caleb Williams has improved. He's improved from last year. He's still not great, but he has certainly improved from last year. So, I guess Jalen Daniels is probably still leading this group, and then you've got everyone else.
Who's 1 through 3 for you?
I'll go Jalen Daniels, Bo Nix, and Drake May, probably.
And I would flip May and Nix.
Fair enough. And it wouldn't take much for me to do that.
And the only reason why I'd flip May and Nix is Nix has been too hot and cold.
Yeah. I hear you. And by the way, the Patriots are now leading the AFC East.
Right.
And there are only 2 teams in the AFC that have a better record than the Denver Broncos. A better record. Now, there's a bunch that have a similar record, but the Colts and the Steelers at 5-1 and 4-1 are the only 2 teams that have a better record than the Broncos. The Bills looked very beatable last night. Now, maybe you give more credit to Atlanta. I mean, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but it's I was sitting there thinking 6 games in, where is the AFC's pecking order right now? I mean, when you get right down to it, do you still give the Bills, after consecutive losses, 2 interceptions last night in a very average-looking effort by Josh Allen, only 14 points on the road? Do you still give the Bills credit? Are the Chiefs starting to rally? But they're 3-3, and they've had some very pedestrian performances early in the season. The Chargers won a game late last week, and I think they're still going to be a factor, but they're beaten up. It's a very interesting thing right now in the AFC. Do you really give the Colts their flowers at this particular point, being 5-1? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting chat at this point.
Well, Hamlet, let me take your 1-minute soliloquy and sum it up in one sentence.
Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well.
When the playoffs begin, unless you have a couple of teams that are red hot going in, it's open.
It is. It's open for business.
Yeah.
And
2 of the teams that we thought would be there, the Ravens and the Bengals, you might as well just count them out right now.
Right. So it's just when you start thinking in terms of getting back to the Broncos, why not the Broncos?
Right.
Why not the Broncos?
Right.
Seriously. And when you have a defense that in 3 of the 6 games they've played hasn't given up a touchdown, and you think that defense is going to be that leading edge of the Broncos each game and every game. Now, I want to see him against Mahomes. I want to see him the next time around against Herbert. I want to see him against Jalen Daniels, right, on the road in Washington.
Right.
But there's no question that right now that room is going to give them chances to win games every time that they're out.
It's funny. Every time that I look at the Bears on television or come back to Chicago, I think of just how pathetic this Bears fan base is, that they just cannot let go of the 1985.
No, they can't.
I mean, I can't think of a fan base that hangs on to a team as much as this Chicago Bears fan base does. Now, granted, that Bears team was as good as any team that has ever played the game. I get it. But when you look at what has happened since they won that championship, they did go to a Super Bowl, not with Rex Grossman, but with Brian Urlacher, and they wound up losing the Colts in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of that on ownership, lots of bad decisions, lots of bad drafts. It is really kind of sad. You walk around town, and you still see Dan Hampton jerseys.
Yeah.
But Richard Dent, Mike Singletary, Al Wilson.
Yeah.
In Denver, you see John Elway jerseys. I get it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you'll have a Gradishar and a Mecklenburg.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Yep.
And you'll see an Atwater. But the way that Bears fans hold on to that 85 team, and I'm saying this with my father sitting right across the living room for me, he loves the fact that he lives in Chicago, is a Packers fan, and he watches this Bears team dump all over itself every single year, and he knows that his team is always going to be in it.
Yeah. There's truth in all of that. There really is. You're right, though, and I hadn't thought of it that way. That is a city that connects to that team probably more than, like, even Boston doesn't connect to the 2004 Red Sox or the 7 Red Sox or even
because you've had teams that are really
teams.
good.
Yeah.
You have teams that are really good that have followed them.
Yeah, the Celtics, and then the Celtics have won, and the Patriots have won, and So you do. Chicago has been, although the Cubs got one. So but the Bears haven't followed it up, and
it's a Bears town.
And it is a Bears town.
No question.
There is no question. It is a Bears town. And so their loyalty to that team and the way that they identify themselves with that team is time honored. It's a good thing, but it must be a frustrating thing for so many Bears fans, for so many people in Chicago.
I mean, you can make the case that the Bears are arguably the greatest team in football history. You can make a case for that. Of course
you could. Yeah.
However, I think the greatest football team of all time was the 84 49ers. They were loaded everywhere. And, oh, by the way, even though Jim McMahon didn't play in that NFC Championship game in 84, it was Steve Fuller. The Bears went to San Francisco and got blanked.
Yeah.
But I think that not only because it was a championship for Chicago Bears fans, but because of the charisma that just oozed out of that locker room.
Yeah.
And guys were all over television pimping everything from, Chevrolets to McDonald's. But they were that Bears team, unlike probably many teams in the history of sports, they were icons on and off the field with huge personalities. It was like a cult growing up here because and it wasn't like there were one or two players. It was almost every single player on defense, throw in Jim McMahon and Walter Payton. And, if you took a Bears fan in 1985 and you put them in a sports store and you lined up 10 jerseys that you could buy, you would have 10 people potentially buying 10 different jerseys.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how long would you consider their run to have been? They were, was it like a 4-year cycle or
1 year?
Just 1 year. I know the 1 year, but I'm talking about their relevance as a contender in the NFC. Was that a 3 or a 4 year? Probably.
It might have been. It might have been 84 to maybe 87.
Okay, that's what I thought. Right.
But then they kept crapping out and disappointing in the playoffs. I went to really their final hurrah over at Soldier Field. I was in college at the time. I think it was 87. I went with a friend of mine, Holly, over to Soldier Field for a playoff game. We sat in the end zone. Mm-hmm. It might have been one of the coldest games I've ever been a part of. It was so bad. We were buying hot chocolate and dipping our hands in there, and it still wasn't warm enough. And I know it's early in the morning, and I probably shouldn't say this.
Oh dear!
But there were guys so drunk that they had frozen beer and snot all over their faces. And I remember leaving the game and people were literally stumbling out of there. And I think that might have been Walter Payton's last game as well. They lost to the Redskins.
Yeah.
But the love affair with the Bears, I think, is like any other I have ever seen covering sports. But I'd be hard-pressed to believe there is another team in the history of sports where there was such a love affair from a city for a particular team, not only because of winning the way they won, but the characters who just developed over time. Where they became folk heroes.
But it's 40 years later.
And the people still talk about it.
It's 40 years later.
Right.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Can you believe it? 40 years ago.
And my father is looking at me trying to chime in on the show. I'm trying to look at you, but I see him giving me hand signals here, to which I will look at you instead of saying to him, you had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks and you won 2 fucking Super Bowls. You might as well be the Atlanta Braves. That's a major disappointment.
Yeah.
As well. Now, you had great regular seasons and you went deep at times. You weren't going to the Super Bowl every year if you were a Packers fan.
No.
You went a couple of times, but you were very fortunate to have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And all you have is 1 Super Bowl win from each. So as my father looks at me, Dad, your team's a disappointment too. With that, want to tell you about Roller Auction, the leader in Colorado auctions for over 45 years. Today, the former Boston Market headquarters is having an auction for rotisserie ovens, ranges, reach-in refrigerators, ice machines, walk-in refrigerators, IT equipment, office furniture, and more. Online bidding has started at rollerauction.com. Don't forget to go to rollerauction.com to learn about upcoming auctions. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. As my father continues to stare me down, Dad, I got the mic. You don't. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
While we were running the graphic for the lead, my father's going, Ditka. And he's right.
Yeah.
Mike Ditka was a folk hero as well. Listen,
sure.
He played for the Bears. He was Iron Mike. He was fantastic, came back, turned the franchise around. But let's not forget about Buddy Ryan either. He was a folk hero as well.
Yes.
And what's one reason why the Bears did not win more Super Bowls? Because Buddy Ryan single-handedly tore apart that locker room.
Yep.
He literally made it us versus them. And them wasn't another team.
No.
Them was the guys sitting across the locker room playing offense. And for those that remember, don't remember, and this is not a Chicago podcast, the Bears offense arguably was the best in the league.
Oh, yeah,
1985.
absolutely.
Arguably the best in the league. It wasn't just their defense, but as a Bears fan growing up, all you wanted to do was see that Bears defense on the field.
Yep.
For as great as Walter Payton was, and he was nearing kind of the end of his career, everybody loved Walter Payton, but you wanted to see that Bears defense on the field. And for as much as we talk about great all-around running backs in the history of the league, a Roger Craig, a Marshall Faulk, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The guy who was the best was Walter Payton.
No question.
I mean, he led the team that year in rushing and receiving. Think about that for a second.
No, he's just an absolutely phenomenal player, absolutely a phenomenal citizen. What a legacy, thank God, we have for Walter Payton all of these years later. And we always think of him when the award that bears his name is nominated around the league. It's something or other that in every market, it's widely reported with the reverence that should have to remember the contributions that Walter Payton made. Just one of the absolute greatest of all time, period. And that is a short list when you start talking about Walter Payton.
Correct. All right, let's dive into the Broncos. If they beat the Giants on Sunday, their record's going to be 5-2. Best start since 2015. Knowing that, and I suppose it matters if they win, which we'll see, but how they win. Is it about how they win that will make you more or less confident about this team?
Yes, there is some, you know me, I'm a if they win, not a how they win type of person. And I've argued it many times on radio and podcast with you. You got to be careful about how you look. Style points don't mean generally as much to me, but I do think that we are at a point now when you're 6 games in that you want to start seeing some consistency in areas that have been a little bit dodgy. You want to see consistency in the ability to run the football and to live up to an identity on offense that starts with running the football. You want to see some consistency in your cover game in special teams. The irony is that the Broncos were one of the teams pining for these changes in special teams because they thought, and rightfully so, that especially in their return game with Marvin Mims back there, a 2-time All-Pro returner, that they would be amongst the leading edge in special teams, and it's come back to bite them a little bit. They've been, in a word, awful covering kicks. They had a couple of games, 2 or 3 games in a row where they were a little bit more steady, but they've been in a position to lose games because of their special teams. That's got to get better. So yes, I will be watching in a game that they are 7-point favorites, at least as of right now, against a Giants team that they should beat at home. I do want to see how they look doing it. Can they put the brakes? Can they stop the crap with the penalties?
Yeah.
That is just continuing to hurt them game in and game out. Discipline, accountability, consistency. That's, to me, at this point, the mark of a team that can fill the void in the AFC. There is no dominant team in the AFC this year. One would argue that whoever comes out of the AFC is going to get their asses blown off by the NFC winner in the Super Bowl. But you know what? I'll just take getting there at this particular point and then take my chances in 60 minutes of a Super Bowl if you can get there. There is no dominant team in the AFC. I think that was the point when we started the show off this morning. You look around the AFC and you can find good and bad about any team right now that's a contender, that we would consider to be a contender. The Broncos just need to take care of themselves, step forward, have some consistency, and be the type of team week in and week out with that, we think, really great defense that can go win a game for you. Eric, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. They've got a stretch of games right here where they're basically going to be favored. They've got a chance to get to 7-3, 8-3, God forbid, 9-2, if you want to just be silly about it, because it's hard to win games in the NFL. But anyway, I digress.
It's funny because we've talked for a long time about the AFC having a dominant, potentially historic group of quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
You got Josh Allen a couple years ago. Tua was in that conversation. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, throw in Justin Herbert, throw in Patrick Mahomes, throw in Trevor Lawrence. That is one hell of a set of quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
I would contend that if there was a round-robin playoff, take your top 4 or 5 teams from the AFC and put them up against the NFC, who are their quarterbacks? Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold. I mean, it's like it's like a
the AFC in a 7-on-7. You'd take the AFC all day, right?
It's more like a who's that than a who's who.
Right.
But I think the teams in the NFC are better.
Yes.
Coming up after the break. I know you were not here when this happened, but I'm sure you'll be able to, go back in time and think about this. Does this particular season for the Broncos remind you of that 2015 season? I think there are some major similarities, not necessarily that will result in a Super Bowl win for the Broncos, but the similarities are there. That's next.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Here's another great promotion from Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk. On December 13th, it's their annual holiday auction for a pair of Super Bowl tickets, tools, jewelry, electronics, toys, and kitchen appliances. Earn auction currency with every locked-up jackpot, players' points, or a daily cash drawing. There's so many ways to earn currency, and the more you play, the more you'll be able to bid and win what you want at their auction. So get up to Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos and start stacking your auction currency today.
And welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
I'm not suggesting what happened 10 years ago is going to happen this year for the Broncos, but the similarities between that Super Bowl team and this year's team are actually pretty striking. This Broncos defense right now, through 6 games, more dominant than the Broncos defense in 2015. The Broncos defense in 2015 was very, very good with great players, but they were still giving up about 18 plus points a game. And, you know, as far as yardage given up, I think they gave up like 280 yards a game, something like that. This Broncos defense statistically has been considerably better, whether it's sacks, yards given up, points, yada, yada, yada. But when you look at the offense, that's where it's even more striking.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos offense this year is averaging about 22 points a game. That team averaged about 22 points a game. This Broncos offense this year compared to the offense in 2015, the Broncos offense this year 300 or not this year. Yeah, this year 337 yards a game. The one in 2015, they were averaging about 355 yards a game. Peyton Manning was a shell of himself. Brock Osweiler honestly wasn't that much better. You can make the case that Bo Nix playing better than both of those guys, and he has been wildly inconsistent. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher that Super Bowl season. Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson were the top 2 guys. I don't know if for J.K. Dobbins is going to be, 1,000-yard rusher. I don't know if Dobbins is going to be a 1,000-yard rusher. The biggest difference on offense is they had Demaryius Thomas and they had Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
The Broncos have Cortland Sutton, and take your pick of a guy who might have a good game.
No, you're right. The similarities are striking all the way back to the possibility of getting off to a 5-2 start. I mean, right. There's and we love sports for that kind of, weird historical synchronicity that oftentimes that we see. To your point, doesn't mean a damn thing from a standpoint of getting to and winning a Super Bowl. But it's kind of fun to think about. And more so because of the way that the Broncos won. And you're good about defining that defense. And it's worth mentioning because people remember that defense and they think of it in fonder terms than maybe if you thought about the whole season, you would think about it. Their greatness, and I would say that it was a great defense, but it came in the playoffs. They were extremely good, very, very good defense during the regular season. But when the playoffs came around,
Right.
they became the best unit on the field in every game that they played, and they were playing against 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Correct.
So that tilts the whole thing a little bit, but you got to kind of remember where they came from. But they were a defense that gave you a chance to win every time that you went out on the field. And I think that ultimately that's where the Broncos are right now. This is going to be a defensive football team, period.
If I had to choose right now between this Broncos defense and the one in 2015, which one would you choose?
Well, just from demonstrated ability, you'd have to go with 2015. But the upside,
forget about. I'm talking regular season only. They beat Roethlisberger, MVP Cam Newton, and Tom Brady. I'm talking regular season only.
Where they would be in similar places, probably this defense, just because of their ability to attack the quarterback.
And I would not.
Okay.
For this reason only. And this is where this defense is lacking. They don't force turnovers.
Yeah, they don't.
And that's what that 15 team did all the time. You cover the Chiefs in 2015. I'm sure the name Bradley Roby means something in Kansas City.
Sure does.
In 2015. Kind of like Bucky Dent means something.
Was that necessary?
Yes, it was.
Was that really necessary?
Well, yeah, a little. Well, listen, but Bucky Dent, his was more historic because it actually meant something. With Roby, it was only a regular season game. But my point is,
yeah, you're right, though.
The Broncos found a way to force a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
And this team is dominating, period, defensively, but not forcing a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what they need to start doing more of.
Now, you can argue, and this would be only an argument, and maybe even an argument to fit a narrative, that sacks, the way that they're getting them, are just about like turnovers. The difference is you punt after sacks.
Correct.
Right? So you're not getting possession. You're not necessarily you're still flipping the field on a punt generally, especially the way these guys punt it nowadays. So yes, I would listen to the argument that, well, the sacks are like turnovers. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right in a way, but you're not getting field position. And that's the thing that defense did so regularly in 2015. That was a defense that handed the ball to the offense in scoring position. That makes a huge difference, no question.
By the way, the defense could get a lift. Dre Greenlaw could be coming back sooner than later.
I'll be there tomorrow, and don't think I won't be looking for number 57. By the way, Malcolm Roach, I heard his name called a few times in London. It was great to see him back. They are clearly better in the middle when Malcolm Roach is there. He's a great run stopper, and he can push the pocket a little bit. Well, you get those two guys back, and look, it remains to be seen. I'm still not convinced that we'll see Dre Greenlaw play at all for the Denver Broncos. I think we will, but my God, Eric, is there a player that the Broncos have had any time in the last 10, 15 years that you hold your breath when they're on the field or close to the field more?
Yep.
Who?
Greg Dulcich.
Yeah. I saw him the other day, by the way.
Was he wearing high socks?
But
he had that porn stash going?
But he had the porn stash and the long flowing locks. I think is he with the Jaguars now or something or other? I don't even know. I lost track of him, but it was great to see the long flowing locks of Greg Dulcich.
Right. By the way, not by the way, but let's dig into Bo Nix for a minute.
Okay.
On where he is on his development. And if you believe in patterns, he is absolutely going to crush and have an unbelievable game against the Giants. Here's why. In his first game against Tennessee, his QBR was 20, which is 20 points higher than me sitting on my couch. Against Indianapolis, it was 73.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
That's fantastic.
Then in the next game against the Chargers, it was 41.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the next game, it was 80. See where I'm going? Every other game, he's great. Every other game, he's terrible. In the next game, it was 60, which is still respectable.
Yeah, it
against
is.
Philadelphia. Against the Jets, it was 37. So he is due for a quarterback rating of at least 65 or higher. Bet on it. Bet the farm on it if you own a farm. If you don't, you could buy a farm.
Yes, you could do that, and obviously he's at home, and that will be big too. Yeah, I'd say that. First of all, I would not. I think that you judge a player like Bo Nix not in a typical fashion for a second-year player. I take away the narrative from Sean Payton of this is a guy that's going to be a superstar in this league within the next 2 years. I put all of that aside and try to look at him as a second-year quarterback that has made, 24 starts in the league. And where is he? I think that going into this year, I'd say that he's probably a little behind schedule. If you take the what you thought you might see from him at the beginning of the season before they even played a game, he might be just a little bit behind what those expectations were. But I think that by and large, for what he has done, I think that he's pretty much on schedule. I don't think he's ahead of schedule at this point. I'm not going to go that far, but I would get him into the, I think he's on schedule kind of thing for him. It all comes back to run the damn ball. If you can run and by the way, it's been 5 straight games now where Sean Payton, and we talked about this on Monday, it almost looked like Sean Payton was forcing the run on the Broncos offense, right? I mean, it's like we've been talking about run the damn ball,
right?
And now all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, don't force the run,
right?
But the point is, Sean is a pretty bright offensive guy. I think we all understand that, and I think that he understands and knows that, and he said it 1,000 times. Defense and running game, quarterback's best friend. They've got the defense. Take care of the running game, and I think that Bo Nix will absolutely flourish. Now, I will say this. Opposing defenses have gotten smart. They've got guys on the edge that stay home now. That naked boot doesn't work quite as well as it had for him. The defenses are paying attention and they're scheming for this guy. So those are challenges moving forward. But I'd have him kind of in the middle. I think that when all is said and done, he's on schedule. That's where I'd go.
The one thing that Bo Nix desperately needs to work on, and this is just a guy who, I don't know, never played quarterback at the NFL level.
Right, of course.
He needs to learn how to drop the ball in the bucket on a deep pass. Think about what his numbers would look like if he hits 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah.
Guys wide open. He doesn't get enough air under that ball.
Yeah, he's not a great deep thrower.
Well, and it's funny because when people say, is he a good deep thrower, they're strictly talking about arm strength.
I think his arm strength is okay, though.
No, his arm strength is fine.
Yeah, I do too.
But when you say about somebody, is he good at throwing a deep ball? The first thing you think of is, well, can he throw the ball deep? Most guys can throw the ball deep.
Right. Yeah, but you got to throw it to the guy.
Right.
I mean,
it's like playing golf and being off the tee. I can hit it long. The problem is it's usually long and wrong. So yeah, I can hit it about 300. I just don't know where it's going. And that's the thing with Bo Nix. He can chuck it 60 yards in the air.
Yeah, he can.
But the question is, can he get it softly enough into that wide receiver's hands where the ball isn't sailing, it's now dipping.
Yeah, that's a great call.
Dropping it into the bucket. And he has missed on so many of those this year.
It's about the only place I'd rather have Russell Wilson back for. Russell
Wilson!
Thank you. Oh my God, we haven't had one of those for a while. Thank you.
Yeah.
But really, so this is for our people that pay attention to us. Russell Wilson, for all of the things that he didn't do well, and there are plenty of things that he did do well, the thing that he probably did best,
he was always that way though,
was able to throw the deep ball, and he did it with touch, arm strength, and touch. He could deliver the ball, and he delivered it well, and it was one of the great reasons that he had success. It's an area that Bo Nix has got to improve in. There is no question about it.
Well, here was the thing about Russell Wilson as well. Yeah, he was great at throwing the deep ball.
Yeah.
Because he always wanted to throw the deep ball.
That's all he ever wanted to do.
And if he wasn't able to throw the deep ball, he got sacked.
True.
So it's either you get a nice deep pass, or he gets sacked, or he starts running from bees and he takes an extra 10 yards on the sack.
He and Justin Fields, I've never seen two quarterbacks hold on to the football longer than those two guys. Right. Justin Fields was getting his ass sacked almost on every other play and was still holding the ball too long in the pocket. At some point, you would think, God, these guys are getting to me. I probably need to get rid of the football. I mean, even just dump it.
Right.
And he wasn't doing it. Weird.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl, make it the best possible day you can.